Welcome back, watch fans. Today we got another watch review for you, and we got the Shah of Iran watch collection. Now, this guy was really an incredible watch enthusiast. I mean, amongst other things. I mean, he collected cars, art. I mean, like, this guy really knew how to live, and he basically ran Iran for almost 40 years. So it's a pretty impressive stretch in the Middle East to be in charge of a country there for 40 years. And let's take a look at some of his watch collection. And we can go into the whole story, but you can obviously Google that. Now, it's interesting. I've always heard about his kind of his art collection, because I'm more of an art guy, and he actually the collection now I think is at the Tehran Museum, and he was actually a very early collector of a lot of contemporary art, pop art, Andy Warhol, Rauschenberg. I mean, all that stuff in the 60s and 70s, and he also had an amazing car collection. But interestingly enough, for our audience, he had some incredible watches, which we're going to be reviewing today. And I just figured, let me just do a Google search if anything comes up, Shah of Iran watch collection. And sure enough, there's a couple of interesting articles. It's there's nothing really comprehensive. I haven't seen anything really comprehensive yet. So I'm going to kind of piece it together for you. And we'll kind of go through it. And, let me know what you guys think. I'll leave your comments below. So without any further ado, the watch he's actually known best for is the Patek, excuse me, not the Patek, the Audemars Piguet, the Royal Oak, the Jumbo, which is actually the grandfather of this watch. And he was the first buyer. So the Shah of Iran was actually the first customer to purchase a AP Royal Oak. Now, the watch came out in steel, right? That was the whole idea. It was the steel sports watch, more expensive than the gold watch. However, his version, which was number 101, was made out of white gold, which is quite interesting. But basically, he popularized, I think it's fair to say that in the 1970s, look, Iran in the 70s was not what Iran is today. Iran in the 1960s and 70s was kind of like it was basically a booming economy. It was a relatively westernized country, probably the equivalent of like I'm trying to think what would be a good example. I can't think of any, but it was really it was the place. It was actually kind of the place to be. They had money coming in from oil. They had all sorts of stuff going on, and this guy was again very Western oriented, as we'll see. And he traveled basically like, look, his circle was essentially the aristocracy of Europe, right? That was kind of his social circle, and because again, he was, I guess, the Shah, the emperor, the king of Iran, whatever. So yeah, he wanted to associate with other rulers, and of course, famously, he also had. Let me pull this up. Famously, this guy threw a mega party. Let me just pull this up. A massive party in the 1970s, which cost about $1 billion. I'm sorry, 1971. That was the here we go. I'm going to pull this up. That was the 25th 2500 year anniversary of the Persian Empire. Right, so he had this amazing party. He had 600 guests, but it was like the who's who. I mean, here we go. Let's see this. You got the U.S. Vice President Spiro Agnew, French Prime Minister Jacques Chaban-Delmas. I don't know, not Jacques Chirac, but the Duke of Edinburgh. Basically the who's who. Queen of Belgium, whatever. He had all the high rollers there. Great uniforms, right? These guys had, Great uniforms. It was a massive party, and they cost about $1 billion in today's money. Maybe even more. Maybe even more. It was absolutely insane. Um, so yeah, this guy really knew how to party. He knew how to live. I think he had like Michelin chefs that he flew in from France. I mean, it was I mean, he had these massive tents put up. It was crazy stuff going on. And by the way, this is also he's known for his car collection. Here we have his 1960 Lamborghini Miura, which is what a cool car. And this is where is it? This is somewhere there's snow outside. Now, I don't even know how you can drive the car in the snow, but hey, this guy was doing it. So that's him. That's the Shah getting into the Lambo. Now, guys, if you're gonna get a Lambo, follow the Shah's example, right? It's got to be one of these candy colors, orange, uh, lime green, purple. No cherry reds like certain people that we know who choose the wrong Lambo color. Now, let's talk about the watches, right? So I'm giving you kind of the background, and let's get into the watches. Now, guys, before we get into the program, make sure that you are getting our free weekly newsletter. That's right. We get an incredible weekly newsletter that covers everything that's happening in the market for Rolex, Audemars Piguet, Patek Philippe, Vacheron, modern, vintage, prices, news, everything you need to know. Look, anybody who's a serious watch collector needs to subscribe to that newsletter. And how do you get it? Well, you click the link in the video description below. Click the link in the video description below to get the newsletter delivered to your inbox twice a week, and it's absolutely free. And also, let me just add, if you're new to the channel, please like and subscribe. And what else? Press the thumbs up, whatever it is. But anyway, subscribe to the channel. We get a lot of incredible content on a regular basis, including collection reviews, auction previews, reviews, all that other good stuff. Now, let's dive into the collection. And of course, as always, look, even though he's the Shah, we're going to give him a rating based on the same principles that we rate all our watch collections, which is the quality of the collection overall, photo creativity. That doesn't count because they didn't really have that. That's how we rate the Instagram collections. Upside potential, watch choices. Meaning, is it interesting? Now let's dive right in. So again, he was really known for the Royal Oak, right? The Audemars Piguet Royal Oak. That is the watch that he's most associated with. But let me pull this up. How do we pull this up? So let me pull this up now. I'll just show this real quick. So yeah, again, this is the 5402 in steel. This is actually an original photo, right, from the AP archives. This is what the watch would have looked like in photos and ads in the early 70s. And it was a shocking watch when it came out. This is it right here. I mean, it was absolutely shocking when it came out. Nobody had seen anything like it. And again, this is Gerald Genta's, arguably his best design. Look, there's a lot of artists out there that they're pretty good, but then all of a sudden they do one painting that is the absolute best. That's kind of the masterpiece, and everything else is okay, but that is like the AAA painting. And I think for Gerald Genta, he had a lot. He had a lot of really good designs, but the Royal Oak, that was the masterpiece. I mean, nothing. I mean, everything else pales in comparison. So anyway, let's go through the Shah's collection. And again, I'm just pulling this up from a website. It's not any kind of chronological order or anything but it'll give us an idea. So after the Royal Oak, I guess he got into the sports watch phase. We don't know what he had before. We have no idea. But he's most famous, again, for those 70s era sports watches. So here we have him with the Patek Philippe, the Nautilus, the Jumbo, the 3700. And look at this action shot. The Nautilus is on the wrist, right? There it is. It's unmistakable. And he's got this gold phone. Now, is that a gold-plated phone? We don't know. It's pretty cool, actually, you know? Pretty interesting. But that is so. Anyway, in terms of we'll go through some prices in just a little bit, right? In terms of the Patek Philippe Nautilus, I think the steel ones are really the most expensive, but I think the best buy, in my opinion, really is the two-tone jumbo. And why is that? Well, I think that's the best look for a 70s watch. Even though the first one came out in steel, it really deserves. It belongs in two-tone. And they're not cheap. It's about look here. We have a really crisp example, full set, which is unusual, right? And oh, sorry, here we go. Sorry, guys. There we go on the screen right there. 100 grand, about 100 grand for a full set with a two-tone. This is what, 1986. So this is a little bit later, right? 1986. But again, same design, everything else. Let's see, what are the stainless ones? The all steel. They're a little more, right? So it's going to be 100 and here we get an example for 114,000, 1977. Papers only, okay, whatever. As long as you have the papers, I think that's good enough. And again, what makes the Patek Nautilus, the early examples are really good in my opinion, is that the date window, the sans serif, the Helvetica font, the Euro style font. Not so much in this example, but we do see it over here. We got that kind of Euro style font in 1989. So we got the Nautilus. Let's go back. Let's see what else he's got. Let's go through the collection piece by piece. Now this watch, okay, this is interesting. The Audemars Piguet, the Cobra. I think this is a Gerald Genta design also. I think. And it's white gold. It's a pretty large it's a pretty large watch, and the way this kind of integrated bracelet is designed, it really wears very big. I mean, like it doesn't flex at all, so it's not really. I wouldn't call it a comfortable watch. Not a practical watch, but I'll tell you what's interesting. I'll tell you what's really interesting about this watch, right? Now this was. So here we got, and there's a bunch of pictures of him with this watch. And this guy actually, look, he's got a pretty big wrist, right? He's got it's like a big wrist. And this watch, yeah, so this guy's got a huge wrist. This watch almost looks, I don't want to say small, but it fits him well. Now here's the crazy thing. These were selling really cheap in the market, right? A couple months ago, you could have gotten these for, I don't know, $12,000, $15,000. And all of a sudden, they shot up in price in the last couple of auctions. We're starting to see this right now. I'm going to pull up an example for you. Let's see, at Philips. I have no idea why all of a sudden they're shooting them. By the way, I think it's actually kind of an ugly watch in a way. I was curious. I was actually thinking of buying one before I tried it on, and I realized there's no way I could wear it. Just the thing just kind of, I don't know, it just doesn't wear right. This thing sold for about 37,000. The estimate was, I think the estimate was like 10 to 50, 20,000. That also, it's kind of a high. These things were, again, going for like, roughly 15 grand, maybe even less. And they started skyrocketing recently. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know why that is, but it's just interesting to point that out. So he's got the Cobra, and one of the most incredible watches that we've seen him with is this Rolex. It's basically a customized date. You're going to notice So the dial looks like a pretty typical dial. Actually, let me pull up a better example. I'm gonna pull up a better picture here. Okay, check this out. This is the watch. This is the actual. I mean, this is a picture of the watch. It looks like kind of a bluish. Uh, is it purple? No, it's like a. It's. Is it a purple dial? I don't know. Sort of a bluish purple dial. You got your typical, those that kind of the diamond dial look with those little baby diamonds, as I like to call them. You got a diamond bezel, but what's interesting is the bracelet design. And he ordered. How many did he order? I think he ordered. We'll take a look in the other article. I think he ordered like a 20, very few examples. He ordered a handful of examples, and these now apparently one sold at auction for about 200 grand plus a couple of years ago, and yeah, from a couple hundred grand a few years ago, and these are amazing. These are amazing. Again, if you're like a Rolex collector, I think this is the watch to get versus, if you have 250 grand to spend, and you're considering, okay, do I buy a Comex Submariner, or a Paul Newman Daytona or some other, tomato can vintage Rolex? I would say this is far smarter. This is a much smarter buy, which I think is going to do quite well over time. So here we go. We got the Shah in situ wearing the watch. This is the 1831, the King of Day Date. They call. Okay, wait, 9 pieces were made. 9 pieces. So as the article says, Rolex 1831 is the rarest reference for Rolex ever made to carry its own movement. It's got its own movement. Oh, excuse me. I thought it was white gold. No, it's platinum. It is platinum. So this is platinum. You get this modernist case. It's a little bit like, kind of like the Piaget Polo. I wonder if the Piaget Polo copied this design. Yeah, I wonder if the Piaget Polo copied that design. Anyway, yeah, 36 millimeter standard size. Weight was 290 grams. Thought to be the heaviest Rolex ever. How much? Again, I'm an American. I don't know how to do the grams. Hang on a second. 2 ounces. Okay. So 290 grams is 10 ounces. So it's almost a pound. It's 3/4 of a pound, basically, right? Pretty heavy watch. 9 pieces ever made. Okay, so this is the diamonds in the bezel and the hour marker set further towards the outer part of the case. Is that true? I don't know. It looks maybe very subtly I don't know, but it looks, I think this is a great watch. Again, the only thing I don't like is the round diamond bezel. I'm just, when Rolex does it, just looks feminine. That round, especially with the round, small little diamonds. With the baguettes, it's very different. Okay, so basically the last one that we know that sold was 225,000 in 2016. So that's 10 years ago. What do you think this would get today? I would say, now here's the thing, it depends who's in the market, right? So you want, obviously, the country, the country that most associated collectors in that country buying, right? Now the Iranians, they got issues getting money out of the country. There's some sanctions, all that stuff. But here's the interesting thing. Most of the real Iranians, or the Persians, as they like to call themselves, are outside of Iran. They're in the U.S., Canada, Europe, and actually a lot of them are big watch collectors, and they're big. Listen, the ones that are outside of Iran, they're very big admirers of the Shah. I mean, they love the Shah, and a lot of them look at that as that was the golden age of the Persian Empire almost, right? And if this watch came up at auction today, I would say there's a bunch of guys. Listen, there's a bunch of Iranians who are big watch collectors who would probably pay. I think this might go for $1 million. Okay, easily could go for $1 million, right? I don't know. So from 200, 225, 10 years ago. Again, you figure a lot of watches have probably doubled, so it would normally be 400. But I think this is so special. This thing is so special that it would get $1 million. Would that be the most expensive date ever to sell? I'll tell you who some of the buyers would be. I'll tell you. I'll listen. If Oral Bach, if you're Bach, whatever Bach Oral from Philips, if you're watching, I'm going to give you two bidders. I'll give you two bidders right now. I'll give you the guy who's probably going to give you the winning bid. Patrick Bet-David, PBD, right? That's the guy who's on the internet, right? The guy's he's just cashed in. He's very liquid, right? I think he's probably worth a couple $100 million, right? And he likes, he's a watch fan, right? He's into watches. He doesn't have any really, really heavy hitters, but the guy's into car. He big admirer of the Shah, and big admirer of, he's kind of a guy who's into history. And he's into like weird collectible stuff. I think he bought and then he sold some baseball cards. I don't know. I guess he's into baseball cards for like $1 million or $2 million. I think whatever the baseball card was. I don't know what the card is. It's whatever. Honus Wagner. Who knows? I don't know. Whatever it is. But it was basically a card that resold. He paid like $1 million or something like that, and he resold it for $2 million or whatever it is. But anyway, listen. Anybody who spends $1 million on a baseball card would spend $1 million on a watch. Okay. So there you go, Oral Box. Highly suggest you go and scrounge around, see if you can get, track one of these down. This is going to be like a major win, right? This is easily $1 million watch. Let's go back into the. Okay, we got a question. How heavy would the solid gold? Oh yes, he's talking about that. This picture here. I don't know, man. It would be quite heavy, I assume, right? It's got to be pretty heavy. And what else? We got some other comments here. Smooth arm. Oh, it looks like. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so that watch, the Cobra. It. Yeah, this guy's a hairy guy. Look, I mean, I don't know. I think let's take a look. Let me just see the back. Do we? Okay. So that's the bracelet. No, it's actually pretty smooth. It actually, it's the weave is like very tight on the back, so it actually wears pretty smooth. The only thing is it flares out. It really from the case, the way the integrated bracelet it flares out by like literally an inch on each side, or half an inch by a huge amount. So it wears like I'll tell you what it wears like exactly like. It wears like a 39 millimeter Royal Oak on the strap, and I've had both of these watches on, and they wore exactly the same. They both. The one on the strap just like flares out on the wrist, and this thing also flares out on the wrist. It doesn't do it with the bracelet, but that thing just flares out. It's muy elegant. I actually disagree. I think this is one of the ugliest watches out there. It's actually I'd call it no. It has almost no redeemable qualities. But I was in the market to buy one. I was looking for one because I think these are kind of collectible. But I'm not going to buy it unless I can wear it, right? And I was really disappointed when I tried it on. I was like, shit, this is just flares out too much. All right, let's go back to the Shah. Let's see what else we have. Okay, let me bring up this article. So we got this guy SJX who has great articles, and this is okay. So this is one with a burgundy dial. You see that? Apparently they came in colors. Interesting. So by the way, so actually this is from an article. Okay, so this is number 5. So they numbered these. I don't know what a beautiful dial. I think it looks even better with this kind of burgundy, this reddish color than that blue or the purple. Actually, no, they both look great, to be honest. They both look great. So this is actually from an article about Rolex in Iran, the history of Rolex. And believe it or not, I'm actually shocked to find out. This picture is the Rolex boutique in Iran. So they actually have a Rolex AD in Iran. I wonder, it's in Tehran. It's the only Rolex store in Iran. Yeah, wow, this looks like a modern, looks like that they had to do the whole fitting like everybody else has to do. It's crazy. Actually, I read the article. It's interesting. The guy's complaining. The guy who runs it, Mr. Javaheri, is I think they've been in the watch business for like 60 years, forever, and he was complaining that it's hard to get watches and there's issues with imports and there's a whole black market and it's a mess. And I guess he's hoping that at some point, by the way, that's the guy, that's the Mr. Javaheri. And what does he have on his wrist? He's got the date just on a strap. There you go. That is the way to wear it, on a strap. I think it looks great on a strap. Look at that. Stunning to get this. And by the way, it's a really nice champagne dial. Two-tone. Again, two-tone. That's the way to go. That is and that's the AD. That's the guy. He could have anything. He literally could have anything he wants. But he's got the Datejust two-tone. I think that was his first Rolex or whatever. But anyhow, this is let's go back to this. Okay, let's talk about some of his cars. All right. So okay, so the watches. How would I rank the collection of watches? How would we rate the collection? I don't know. What do you guys think? What would you rate the collection on a scale of A through F? Oh, Javaheri, that means jewelry? Jewelry, okay. All right. Yes. Koskesh, you were late. You were late to the party here. You were late. Yeah, let's go to the Cobra. For you, I'll talk about the Cobra. All right, let's go back to the Cobra. I'm going to bring up the Cobra just for this guy. Just for this guy, I'm going to bring up the Cobra because he's adding value. He's adding value. I did not know. I only know bad words in Farsi. I don't know that Javaheri means jewelry. Just the bad words I know. All right, let me bring this up. By the way, what do you think? Let me bring this up. If anybody wants to pop on, they are welcome. And what do you think of the Cobra? What's your opinion of the Cobra? Because again, I find it interesting just from a historical perspective as a collector. And again, I would be a buyer of that watch, even though I kind of think it's ugly. Again, for the historical aspect of it, but I can't wear it. So that's why I wouldn't buy it, because I can't wear it. But let me bring it back up. So there is the Shah of Iran, Shah Pahlavi with the King Cobra on the wrist. And again, The prices for these have basically doubled. For some reason, they have doubled in the last couple months. Why? Does anybody know why? Somebody, I mean, I wonder who, somebody must be, there's obviously it's a couple of guys who are, loading up. Check this out. So he was actually pictured quite a bit with that watch, right? On vacation. I guess this was in Panama. I think this was in Panama. These pictures were taken when he was in exile. And there he is with the watch. I mean, really, this guy had great style. I mean, really, this guy, like, impeccable taste. There's the watch. So, we got to give him a pass for the watch because, everybody's entitled to one, like, funky. Everybody's entitled to one funky watch. What is this? Is this? Let's check this out. There's a couple. Let's see what we can. Okay. Let's see. Hang on a second. Let's see what we could find here. I think there's a couple of interesting links. Okay, so this I just again this just came up. This so this basically was a gift. It was a gift from the Shah, a Stella dial. Oh, with a bark finish. Hey, a man after my own heart, right? The bark. I got the same exact watch. Of course, not the Stella dial. I got a blue dial. But this is the bark bracelet. And I bought that watch again. I thought it was kind of fugly, but just from a collector standpoint, I think these are really interesting. Highly underrated. Yeah, he bought he bought the first. What he was known for is buying. He's the guy that put Audemars Piguet Royal Oak on the map, right? He bought the first Royal Oak. His was in white gold, number 101. And he probably made it popular in the right circles because, I mean, this guy traveled like in the, ultra elite circles. Also, interestingly enough, we're going to talk about the cars, but here's what's fascinating. I put this out in one of our email blasts. He's actually the guy that was responsible for the production of the Mercedes G-Wagon. That's right, the G-Wagon in the 1970s. Originally, it was supposed to be an army vehicle for the Iranian military. And now, but here's the thing, right? So this guy is really, the Shah of Iran is like the spiritual grandfather of, today's flex culture. These guys on Instagram with, they all have to have that, the G-Wagon and the Royal Oak, right? The G-Wagon, Royal Oak, it's a whole thing, right? It's quite interesting. He was doing this 50 years, 50, how many years ago? 50, no, 50, yeah, 50 years ago almost. 50, so this guy was 50 years ahead of everybody else. Really interesting. Hang on, let me pop this up. Let's go back. So we lost the screen. Okay, there we go. Let's bring this up for a second. That watch, the Cobra. Why has the watch rocketed in the last couple of months? I mean, literally, the thing has doubled in price. Why is that? Do you have any idea? Because I can't figure it out. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, I don't want to brag, but I kind of have almost like a sixth sense for certain watches, like before they start moving, and I really need to follow up on that. Just go with it, go with my instinct, because even if I don't want to buy the watch, because everything I thought about has within a couple of months has rocketed. Whether it was like Universal Genève before the acquisition by Breitling. Patek 3800. I can go down a list. I missed out on a couple watches. So now I'm looking at a couple things. Um, I'm gonna jump on them. I'm really mainly interested in the kind of vintage, neo vintage, etc. Now this is, so we got the Cobra in gold with the owl. Let me see. Let's see. Luxury. Yeah, I think some people are apparently they're trying to hype these things up. It's yeah, they use okay. So there's a guy with like a normal wrist, and as you can see, the thing wears like a giant bracelet. Basically, it kind of really flares out a lot. It's yeah, pretty interesting. Let's see if we have any more things about his watches over here. No, that's about. I think this is it. Yeah, somebody should really do a deep dive on this because this is some really interesting stuff here. Let's go through this. Okay, let's go back to the cars. Okay, so again, this guy was a real car guy. Yeah, that's it. That's from this article. Right? Were you there? No, this party cost, again, this party probably cost over $1 billion in today's money. And I think that could be one of the reasons he was overthrown, because I think that, it put a dent in the budget. The economy, I think at that time, the economy was a little rocky. And, there are a lot of people resented it. Okay, so this is the details on the party of the century. Okay, there was an Indian guy who threw a wedding for his son. I think he spent $100 million or something just a couple months back. But this is the real deal. Okay, so $300 million at that time is what it cost. Okay, $300 million in 1950 years ago is the equivalent of, like, it's really the equivalent of like $2 billion today. Easily $2 billion today, because it's not like the 3%. No, there's a lot of those things, really increase a lot. Okay, so I think they had to buy land, 30 miles of silk. I guess the silk was used for these tents. 120 waiters dressed in bespoke violet blue uniform. Okay, so violet blue, I think that's the color of the with the peacock throne or something. That's the official color. The violet blue is like a very what does that have to do with the Shah? It's the peacock feathers have that violet blue color. He flew in 40 chefs. He had 130-foot serpentine table. So that's the table. But these are just little things. Okay, unsold quail's eggs stuffed with imperial Caspian. Oh yeah, Iranian caviar. Moet Chandon, 1911 champagne roasted peacocks. Roasted peacocks? I don't know. Can you eat peacocks? I had no idea. Peacocks are edible? That should be a crime to eat a peacock. I mean, they got the nice feathers. 1959 Dom Perignon Rosé Champagne. He had good wine with fresh figs. The world's biggest. Oh, it was attended by 2,500 people. The world's biggest party. 2,500 people. Okay, so this is. Oh yeah. So that was the issue. That was the issue. So, what do you think? Do you think if he didn't throw the party, he would remain in power? I think a lot of, there was actually a lot of support for the Ayatollah. All right, there was a lot of support. Of course, look, it's who was supporting him. It was like the youth. Yeah, kind of like it's always these kids, right? And then, of course, they all regret it. At the time, they thought, the Ayatollah is a nice old man, whatever. Oh, man, yeah. The Persian throne, yeah, the peacock throne. Yeah, so now they've been stuck for the last 50 years. Anyway, so the Lambo Miura, one of the best Lambos. How much these are very? I mean, these today are great. By the way, so they have these kind of lashes for the headlights. It looks like I think it was designed to look like a woman's eyes, like eyelashes. So it's kind of a sexy look. Again, the guy's driving it in the snow, so that's he's a real car guy. Now this is incredible. He apparently France gifted him. If I read I just flashed the article briefly before. This Bugatti in 1939. I guess when he was like a kid, he was in his 20s. This was, I think, a wedding gift. So France, the country of France, they gifted him this Bugatti, which is an incredible car. This looks like Pebble Beach. So I guess somebody bought the car and took it up to Pebble Beach, the concourse. And he's got some Americanized cars. Again, this is 1970s. So, this would have been like a kind of the cool car. Now, this is the best. Shit. Again, look, if I were to have any roles, I would go for the Corniche. But with the you got to have the moon. What is? I always get them mixed up. The moonroof or the sunroof, whatever it is. The one with the glass that goes back. I think, is it a sunroof or a moonroof, whatever it is. But anyway, because I got to have like a roof that comes off. But this, and they did make a few like that. But and of course, look, if you order, you could do whatever you want. But this was his Corniche, and look at this color. Wow. Is this emerald green? Yeah, I guess it is an emerald green. Amazing car. Oh, excuse me. It's not it's the Bentley Corniche. Bentley Corniche. Fine distinction is actually small. I just looked at the grill and I was, wait, that's an old Bentley grill. And then you have the Bentley little flying thing there. Yeah, you got to have, by the way, yeah, with these old Bentleys, you got to have the little flying. They stopped doing that, I think, in the late 90s. What else? You had a Maserati here. I mean, really, all great cars. No garbage. I mean, all great cars. Now, what is this? This was Mercedes Cabriolet, 1939. Wow. Great cars. I mean, this guy knew how to live. Oh, is it? It's in the Peterson Museum? It's interesting. Okay. That's very interesting. I've never been to that museum. I don't really care that much about cars that I'd spend a day in the museum, but I love the Pebble Beach show. I've been there a couple times. Yeah, interesting. Was a big collector. Is like there's a couple Persian guys on YouTube who are very into cars, very into watches. Which, again, if this guy's Rolex, if that Rolex came up for auction, these guys would probably be the top bidders. You got that, I said, again, this Patrick Bet-David, right? And then you have this guy in Newport Beach, Manny Khoshbin, who's a big car collector. He's got and what he does, which is actually really interesting, he custom orders. He does bespoke Bugattis, and also, what's the other brand? I forgot what it is, but he's got really good taste in cars. I mean, although he does like white a little too much, I know it's a whole Persian thing. They love white. Everything's got to be, they love to wear like white pants, and columns. Every house in Beverly Hills, they love columns and lions. Putting lions and columns, but this guy's incredible cars, and I think he has some nice, very modern watches though. He's got of course, AP Royal Oak, but all modern, like offshore. He's more of like that kind of more of like a flex guy. And by coincidence, I actually sat next to him in Miami. What's the restaurant in Bal Harbor? Les Zoo. Okay, so guys, if you ever go to the Bal Harbor, the Hermes Bugatti, the guy say it's amazing, right? So look, if you're gonna get a Bugatti, you got to do it the right way, right? And this guy does it the right way. He got this Hermes, and he did it in a funky color. I mean, I love that color. I think it was a bronze or brown, chocolate bronze, which again, I'm a fan of that color. But for resale value, that might be tough. So I mean, he must really love that color because most people don't like that color. I think it's an amazing color. But what is it? BMW. What does that mean? Anyway, so in Bal Harbor, Florida, Miami, there's that mall is it's amazing. If anybody ever has an opportunity, you go there, and the best thing to do, like this, whatever, they got the usual like high-end store, whatever. It's just no big deal. It's highly overrated. But here's the thing: if you go downstairs, you sit, you take a table outside at one of the restaurants. Really, Les Zoo is the best one. The other one next to it, I think, is Carpaccio, which is kind of like it's more of a scene. Les Zoo has better food. And you sit there and you're going to see the most amazing cars like pull up to the valet like every minute. You're going to see Ferraris, Lambos, I haven't seen a Bugatti. But anyway, I'm sitting there back in January. I was at the Miami Beach, the watch show. And I'm sitting there, and who sits down next to me? It's this guy, Manny Koshbin. I guess he was with his wife and another couple. I didn't want to bother him. I was like, I was looking. This guy looks familiar, right? And I turned to say, "Are you Manny?" He goes, "Oh yes." He's got that funny accent. "Oh yeah, yes, yeah." He does a little giggle. That seems like a nice guy. Anyway, great cars. And actually, there's another guy, another Persian guy who's also into cars. And why that must be a theme? Like, is that like, are these guys all following the Shah? Now I know Koshbin is a fan of the Shah, and Patrick Bet-David. Now there's another guy. What is it? The guy who does exotic car hacks on YouTube, exotic car hacks, and Watch Trading Academy. Pejman Gadimi, and this guy, that guy also has some heavy car. I think he also has a Bugatti. He's got a Bugatti, and I think he's also a big fan of Royal Oak. I don't think he's a vintage guy. I don't think he'd be a buyer for the Shah's watch. But there we go. Oh, there's the Shah in Miami. That's it. Look at this. That's the Shah in Miami. He's probably right across the street from where I was staying in Bal Harbor. Okay, so his collection also includes 1971 Rolex Daytona. Okay, whatever. Okay, everybody's entitled to mistakes. And he had some Piaget models. Okay, gold studded with. Okay, that's okay. The Piaget, obviously, the stone models. Yeah, I guess this watch he probably had just as a beater. I mean, because it just doesn't. It's so goofy. So this is it. This is the Royal Oak, the A series. It's interesting. Most of the pictures we see, he's got the Nautilus on. Why is that? You know what? I think really the Nautilus is kind of a more elegant watch. That's probably what it is. But this is interesting. Look, in the 1970s, to be wearing a steel watch, and this is the steel. Well, I think his Nautilus was steel. It would be really, really unusual. Like most world leaders, whatever, U.S. presidents, they'd wear the date. I think it was his wife. Yeah, his wife is pretty hot. I think that was his wife. Yeah, I think it was his birthday because they were celebrating. So I didn't want to bother the guy. And actually, it's funny. It was him and another guy, some kind of a heavy set guy, like a goofy looking guy, and the girl with him was hot. So both these guys are let's just say they're not exactly superstars, but their wives or girls, whatever, were solid, let's say, 9, 8, 9. Again, depending on the ranking, whatever. Uh, okay, okay. Uh, Interesting. Okay, yeah, that makes. But no, listen. I'm trying to think. I mean, but in terms of watches, I mean, like, listen. The only things that the Swiss are really known for that's good is basically watches. Mechanical stuff. That's it. I mean, yes, Swiss watch, basically watches, and what else do they do? Things like that, mechanical stuff. I mean, they're not exactly known for their, I don't know, fashion industry or whatever. I guess cheese. I don't know. Cheese and the chocolate is not even that good. The Belgians make much better chocolate, and the French do better cheese. I mean, that's Switzerland. I mean, it's a one-trick pony. The whole country is a one-trick pony. Just watches. That's basically it, mechanical stuff. So yeah, very interesting that this guy was, very avant-garde. I don't think any other world leaders were wearing a steel watch unless they were, brokesters. Okay, so he was also giving out gifts. That was a big thing in the Middle East. A lot of these like despots, dictators, love to give out watches. Saddam Hussein was a big fan of the Patek Philippe Ellipse. There's a whole bunch of them out there with the Iraqi Eagle. What else did he give out? He gave out. He was a big fan of the Ellipse. Also, Gaddafi was a Patek man, and who else? A couple of other guys, but I think the main the Saudis, the Gulf people, I think they were mostly into Rolex. I think they were mostly into Rolex. I don't think they had any Pateks. But this is some of the stuff. Okay, so yeah, this is kind of goofy. The Corm. Remember the Corm gold coin watch? So he did do this, I guess, with a Persian coin. I think the Corm gold watch looks best with that American, that gold, the $20 thing. There we go. You got the bark. George Papadopoulos. Who's George Papadopoulos? Bark finish, 1961. Oh, the Prime Minister of Greece was Georgios Papadopoulos, and dictator, I guess. Okay, so this was given by the Shah to the Prime Minister of Greece. Wow, I didn't know that they were doing these bark finishes in 19. This must have been a very early bark finish bracelet. Okay, so we got the pocket watches. Okay, there's the party. Oh, is that the peacock throne? There, he's wearing a crown. Look at this. Wow. That's it. That is it. All right. So let's rank the collection. We'll give the collection a rating. Again, guys, if you're just tuning in, make sure that you get our free weekly newsletter. Click the link in the video description below to get that newsletter. Again, covering the world of Audemars, Piguet, Patek Philippe, Rolex, and other top brands, prices, news, everything you need to know. Click the link in the video description below to get it for free in your inbox. Now, let's wrap it up. We're going to rate the collection on, again, kind of the overall quality, upside potential, and what else? The other thing, photo creativity we can't rank because he never took his own pictures, right? We use that metric for Instagram guys. He was a little bit ahead of his time. So he didn't take pictures of his watches, and I don't think he would. I think if the guy was alive today, I don't think he would be taking pictures of his watches. I think. Hang on a second. Let me go back to this. Okay. Here's the thing. I'm gonna give the collection I'm going to give the collection. Again, these are all heavy hitters, right? Today, he was way ahead of his time, way ahead of his time, right? So I almost want to give a solid A. I have to deduct the points only because, there's a lot of, it looks a little bit tedious in a way. I don't see any again, we're only looking at a handful of watches. Maybe he had a whole bunch of other stuff, but there's not like we don't see any like heavy hitter Patek, anything on a strap. It's all white metal, right? Almost all of it is white metal, white gold, platinum, steel. So it all kind of blends in. It all kind of looks the same a little bit. Of course, you know what? I'm sure he had a lot of other stuff, but these are the watches he's best known for. So maybe I'll give it an A because he probably had other things to balance out the collection. But for whatever reason, these are the ones that are kind of most associated with him. No, for sure, he must have had, who knows what else. So I'm going to give that an A. Photo creativity, we can't rank. Upside potential, A plus, because everything here was way ahead of its time. Again, totally on the money. Actually, no, there was a couple of dogs, right? The quorum stuff. There's a couple of, we don't have the full details, right? We only see really here. We're looking at 3 watches. So I would say this. Look, all 3 of these. Now again, the Cobra. If we were doing this video 2 years ago, I would have said, the Cobra takes away because it's too funky 70s. But you know what? I would have said it was tacky. But here's the thing, for whatever reason, tastes change, right? And about a year ago, I started looking more at these, like, a couple of years ago, I started looking more at these integrated bracelet watches, and like, they're actually, they are some of them are very, very funky. Again, but it was product of that time. And actually, they're quite interesting. So, but today, the market is proving the Shah right. The Cobra, seen on the far left, is rocketing in value. Again, it's doubled in the last couple of months. And of course, we know that the Nautilus, the Royal Oak, the Jumbo Royal Oak, the Jumbo Nautilus are like the hottest watches of the last 5 years, right? Should I say decade? When did they start becoming hot? Really like 8 years. It's only been 8 years. So this guy was way ahead of his time. So far ahead of his time. Yeah, again, this is like the spiritual grandfather of timepiece gentleman Anthony Farrer, right? This guy had all the hype watches, the Royal Oak, the Nautilus, and he basically created the G-Wagon, which is like every watch dealer, every low-life watch dealer, that's their vehicle of choice, the G-Wagon. Again, I was at the Miami Beach the watch show in January. Outside, there was at least four, no exaggeration, it was at least 4 back-to-back, 4 black. I don't know why these guys have to have these cars in black G-Wagons lined up right at the Valley, right outside. It was all, it was probably like, Roman Scharf and whatever, a bunch of these, all these gray market dillers. They love that G-Wagon. So they all owe it to this man. They owe this man, the Shah of Iran, a debt of gratitude. All right, so we'll wrap it up on that. Let me know what you guys think of the watches. Leave your comments below. And of course, make sure that you get our free weekly newsletter. Click the link in the video description below. Subscribe and like the channel. You're not doing it for me. It's just, it helps the algorithm. So I appreciate it. If you're just tuning in, you subscribe to the channel, you click the like button. It helps the algorithm. Should be What was it? I read something that he had 25%. He owned 25% of Mercedes. Did he was he basically like doing insider trading? Did he buy shares? Did he buy shares of Mercedes so that because he knew that he'd be putting in a big order for the G-Wagon? By the way, let me know. Can you? I'm putting out the link. If you want to hop on, join the live stream. I mean, again, you don't have to have your face. You can put an avatar. Yeah, let me know the details of that. That's very interesting. Very, very interesting history. Oh, Mercedes was distressed at the time. Listen, there you go. This guy was so far ahead of his time. If he owned 25%, he bought 25% of Mercedes in the 70s. I mean, what would that be worth today? How much? What is Mercedes? Is Mercedes public? Were they part of? I don't. I remember I lost track of them when they merged with Chrysler. Hang on a second. Hang on a second. Who owns Mercedes? Is it Mercedes? Are they independent? I should know this, right? I should know. What is the market cap of Mercedes? No, okay, so we got an ADR. The market cap is 76 billion. 76 billion. So if he had 25%, he'd be worth that share would be worth. I mean, it probably would be dilution or whatever. Maybe not. Maybe there were dividends. I don't know. So he'd have $20 billion. How much did he pay for that 25% share back then? Wow. Very interesting. I mean, this, again, way ahead of his time. And that wraps it up. All right, guys, I'm going to play you the outro.